Hello everyone. So knitting is a very sensory experience. It has a very strong visual component to it. You look at the knitting a lot to make sure that when you do a complicated pattern, the stitches are going in the right way. And it's a very tactile experience too, because you're holding the yarn in a way and you're doing that same repetitive motion again. And there's even like a hearing experience in knitting, because depending on the type of needles you use depends on what types of like clicks the needles make. And if you have like the wrong tension on the yarn, like if you make it too tight, the yarn can squeal. And depending on like the row counter that you use, if you're keeping track of rows, that can make a sound as well. But what knitting doesn't have is a pleasant like taste or smell sensation. I mean, the yarn doesn't really smell so much unless there's like something wrong with the yarn. And the yarn doesn't taste good. Which unfortunately I can say I've tried. But then it got me thinking, like, what if I could make my knitting and eat it too? And then it was like, what type of food would actually be good to knit? And then it struck me. Twizzlers. Twizzlers are pretty stringy, and I think they'll be flexible enough without like breaking on me. So I actually have two different types of Twizzlers here. I have the original type plus the pull and peel type. So I'm going to try this 3 different ways. The first way, I'm going to use regular needles, but I'm going to use Twizzlers as the yarn. The second way, I'm going to use regular yarn, but then use the Twizzlers as the needles. And then the third way, I'm going to use the Twizzlers as both the needles and the yarn. I feel like I should mention at this time that Twizzlers are not sponsoring me in any way to make this video. I just really like Twizzlers. So now I'm going to put on a set of gloves because I know what my hands are like. And I don't want my sweaty hands dissolving the Twizzlers before they get too far. So here we go. I've already pre-ripped the pull and peel so that way I don't have to waste time with that. Got a set of needles. I think the easy cast on will be the way. There's not really much to work with, though. They're not very long. All right, we got ourselves a slip knot here. Oh, that's really big, isn't it? Is this going to be like... I wish that was further down. Maybe I should start on the thinner end. Okay. I think we're going to have to do the really easy cast on. That's the only way I'm going to get like multiple stitches on this thing. Oh. And because of the length of the Twizzlers, we are confined to 4 stitches. All right. See, we got that there. All right. I think I'm going to have to do a new one for each row. We're going to see. So we're going to hold that like that. Yeah. Ooh. Oh, it's sticking to the needle. No, don't you dare come apart. Oh, I hope it doesn't come apart. Okay. It broke on me. It broke on me. Oh, okay. Let's try this again. All right. Maybe I can't really waste any time doing a slip knot. Maybe I just gotta do this. Except it's not going to be very secure. It's like sticking to the needle. And the needle's cold. I'm on the top floor. I'm near a window. Well, that just bought me one more stitch. All right. And it broke on me again. Second stitch. We'll give this one more try before I call this a dud. We will do the slip stitch. Maybe this will just be better to finger knit, maybe? My parents had a roll. Oh, maybe I have to cast on it in a different way. Let's do the cable cast on. Will that make it any different? Well, with that I only get 2 stitches. Yeah, my parents had a rule growing up that whenever I tried like a new activity, I had to give it like 3 tries before I gave up. This was mostly with meetings, because the first time might be a fluke. Anyway, I tend to like things better the second time around. There you go. I did it. Okay. It's not very tight though. Boom. I did it. I completed a row. There's only 2 stitches in the row, which officially makes it the shortest I've ever attempted on needles, but okay. Let's try the third one. Oh, that nearly came undone. All right. Let's add another piece, because I don't trust the length of that. All right. It smells really good. I'm getting the hang of it. Oh, I'd say I just broke it. Okay. I got a lot longer before I broke it this time, but you can see that tangled mess is knitted Twizzler, and turns out you can knit Twizzlers as long as you're willing to have a bunch of loose ends, which most knitters are not. So that leaves another for the next attempt. All right. Leave that there. We'll put that there. This isn't exactly the most food safe of places, but considering I once tried to make a point to an 8-year-old by biting into a piece of natural clay, I'm not sure food safety is something I've been like the highest standard of in the past. So now we got the regular Twizzlers. Now we're going to use as knitting needles. And I have my yarn. I'm going to make a slip knot. I think we're going to do the easy cast on for this, because Twizzlers aren't exactly the smoothest knitting needles. There's like a particular twist in it. That might be why they're called Twizzlers. And that's something yarn can catch on a lot of. So we're going to do like 10 stitches here. These have a lot more give than typical knitting needles. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. I mean, I'm doing it. It's a little bit harder because they don't have a point to them. Most knitting needles have a point to them, and this has a bit of a blunt end. I could bite a point into them, but I'm afraid if I make a bite mark, they'll be even more difficult to maneuver because then the yarn will catch on my bite mark, especially since my bite mark is not really symmetrical, you know? Oh, it's staggered. Let's put it that way. Here, ta-da! We got ourselves a row of knitting. Though really loose. The first row often tends to be the loosest though, so it'll be interesting to see if that trend continues for the second row. Yep. It's still pretty loose. At our second row there. So it's safe to say at this point that you can very easily use Twizzlers as a knitting needle. And so far they've held up better as knitting needles than they've held up as actual yarn itself. But we're going to try the coup d'etat anyway. I hope I'm using that word right. In which we use the Twizzlers as both the yarn and the needle. All right. Let's see here. All right, so we know from the past that we are only going to get 2 stitches. We're going to get more. Oops. Don't come undone on me, buddy. All right. Oh, it just came undone on me. I now have 1 stitch on the needle. I don't know how to fix this. Fortunately, we have more to try. We're going to try this again. Well, maybe unlike the last time, I should do the easy cast on, so I definitely get a second loop where I got enough of an end. There we go. Through the slip knot. It is the second row, and we still have 2 stitches on the needle. But unlike last time, I think we're going to have to add another piece on. And it just came undone on me again. Oh, I think there you have it. Twizzlers do not make good yarn. They make good needles, but they don't make good yarn. Well, at least they made better yarn when I used like traditional needles versus using a Twizzlers as needles, but at least I get to do one thing. I get to eat my knitting. Item off the bucket list.